All right, to your bill, Representative Ray Rauer. House File 3647.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So House File 3467, its goal is to provide a clear authority, statutory authority for the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, or MDVA, to collaborate with other organizations that support our state's veterans. It's not moving money in any way. I want to make sure that I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody that we're not spending dollars from this committee. We're not moving money in any way. This bill is specifically to allow the agency to provide some staff time and support as they're able to do so. Their staff can help with problem solving and provide programmatic expertise. So there's currently various sections in Chapter 196 that can be interpreted to allow for these types of partnerships, but the agency is seeking to update in this bill to make it very clear. Specifically, this bill amends Statute 196.22 to clarify the ability of the commissioner to direct staff and non-monetary resources to assist in initiatives related to food insecurity, homelessness, suicide prevention, and other critical issues. Recently, the Disabled American Veterans, or DAV, wanted to create a food pantry network, and MDVA was able to find a partner for funding this. They wanted to build off of the Lutheran Social Services Core Program and the Meals on Wheels program that we already have. And currently, we have food pantries that serve the Minneapolis VA, but they wanted to have a more statewide program. MDVA, I keep stumbling over that. MDVA found that they have some space in the Hastings DOMS that they could use for this. And it could potentially, we don't know yet, even lead to work therapy for the veterans that live there, assisting with packing boxes and things like that. MDVA would like to be able to support this initiative with some staff time and just by sharing their expertise. Eventually, this would be a fully DAV program, but MDVA wants to help it get going. There's also a reporting requirement within this bill to the leaders of our veterans committees in the Senate and the House here about any agency activities that would occur under this new section of law. Finally, it's really important to note that this is permissive, not a requirement. So if MDVA did not have the staff time or other priorities required the staff time, then they simply don't do it. I'm joined by two testifiers today. John Kelly is MDVA's Director of Government Affairs. Stephen Whitehead is the Adjutant of Minnesota's Disabled American Veterans, a former National Commander of the DAV, and Command Sergeant Major of the Minnesota Army National Guard. Thank you.
Welcome to committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Chair and members. For the record, my name is John Kelly, and I serve as the Director of Government Affairs for the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. I want to thank Representative Rauer for carrying this bill and for the committee for taking the time to hear it this morning. As mentioned by Representative Rauer, House File 3467 is a policy bill that provides clear statutory authority for the Department of Veterans Affairs to collaborate with organizations that serve our veterans. This is a bill that came through discussions with our general counsel. They asked that we try to get some just easy, direct, clear authority for us to collaborate with veterans organizations, not monetarily, but through staff time and through potential use of our space. So this is us coming to the legislature and asking for the okay to do this, as we see staff time and space in our homes and other facilities as a taxpayer resource as well. I want to reiterate, just as Representative Rauer did, this is not giving the commissioner any ability to move dollars. This is us being able to not have to have 3 meetings to find where in 196 through 198 we have the authority to partner on an initiative that is maybe something that's happening quickly. We also feel like in a time of tight fiscal resources, if we can lend our expertise and our network and connections to help something get off the ground that others are working on, without having to come to the legislature and ask for money or have them ask for money. If we can put folks together and connect them to solve a problem, we want to do that, and that's what we're doing here. But we want to make sure that we are getting clear authority from the legislature to do that. So this is about expediency and about us being able to kind of adapt to the changing environment of veterans organizations in the state while we're here and on the initiative that you heard from Adjutant Whitehead, is with the DAV. There are a lot of other veterans organizations in the state that aren't congressionally chartered, that are focused on other issues, and our statutes really don't contemplate partnerships much with entities that aren't the congressionally chartered veterans organizations. So we wanted to put this into the commissioner's authority. Again, it's permissive. It's not moving any dollars. If this was about moving dollars, this would be a budget change item. And this also is not something that we would be seeking to bring before the legislature because that's not the prerogative of the agency. So just want to kind of make sure we're staying in our left and right limits and not having to have a bunch of meetings to figure out where we can point to. What you'll hear from Adjutant Whitehead shortly, we went and got an executive order from the governor, which also is a challenging process to get through. And so we just want, if we're trying to feed some vets and we're trying to just connect up the money with the muscle, we want to be able to do that and have clear authority from the legislature. So that's what this bill is. And with that, I'll turn it over to Butch.
Welcome to committee. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow representatives. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill forward. As noted, my name is Stephen Whitehead. I am currently the Department Adjutant for the Disabled American Veterans of Minnesota. I've been in this role for 14 years. The DAV found one of the biggest initiatives right now or needs for veterans is food insecurity. You guys have all heard it. It was a great testimonial this morning from Meals on Wheels. We know the importance of that. What I'm here to highlight is kind of the progress of the DAV and why we took this initiative on. We just celebrated 100 years of existence here in Minnesota. At the department, we established programs that serve veterans across all of Minnesota, not just in one designated area. We have 32 chapters that are made up across all the state of Minnesota, over 19,000 members, taking care of veterans and their families in their local area. Back in 2021, the DAV Minnesota had a conversation with the Minneapolis VA Medical Center about establishing a food pantry and obviously the need for veterans to get food. And obviously the VA sees veterans every day. They have over 100,000 veterans they see annually. It was a great way to kind of say, hey, how big of a need is there? The DAV Minnesota Foundation gave a grant to the Minneapolis VA Medical Center of $50,000 to kind of get this off the ground. The federal VA said this is a priority, however, did not give any funding to the VA facilities to start this initiative. DAV Minnesota, being a nonprofit ourselves, we do our own independent fundraising. We have our own ways to find our funds. We took this initiative on head on and said, hey, let's help these veterans with food insecurity. Since its inception, they are averaging 300 boxes given out a month to veterans. Every third Tuesday of the month, they have a food pantry that they hand up. And about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, veterans are lining up for when that door opens at 9 o'clock. Well, that's great for Minneapolis and the veterans that are being served there. The DAV Minnesota saw this as a big need across the state. We started talking to MDVA, and this is when we ran into this roadblock about what their capabilities are. We are not asking for any funding from the commissioner. This was, hey, we would like to use your expertise, your staff to know where these veterans are and actually be able to dial in to make sure that we're hitting the areas of higher need right away so we can address this. Veterans Day of 2025, the governor did do the proclamation, which we are very thankful for. We thought we'd cross a hurdle. Unfortunately, that hurdle just opened up a few more worms. So we started working with MDVA, and we actually asked for something like this to be established to allow the DAV the time to work and ask MDV if they have the capability to assist us as we build this program. The DAV just met yesterday, our executive leadership met yesterday, and we're ready to roll this out. We are now past, well, we're still doing research. Obviously, research is always going to be important. We're now in the development phase. We're identifying, okay, where is the next pop-up going to be? How are we going to get the food? We actually have identified other partners in the state that will help us also with the funding of buying food. But the piece about what we're so interested about is so not just one thing about stopping getting food. We want to have all resources there that day when that veteran shows up to get the box of food. How else can we help them? What else do you need? So partnering with MDVA, bringing in their team, bringing in the county veteran service officers, bringing in VA staff. So that day, it's not the, here's your box, go in your vehicle, see you later, bye, see you in a couple weeks. Having them sit down and say, what else can we do? Are you getting your benefits? Are you having issues with your benefits? Are you getting any, do you know of other resources that you may be eligible for through the state programs that we find a lot of our veterans aren't aware of all the benefits they have earned that they're eligible for. So it's an educational piece with this as well that we want to take advantage of. So with this bill, it will allow us, my team, to reach out to the commissioner and say, hey, can we have a task force built to assist making sure that we roll this out the right way and we don't fall short of our goal? And that is serving as many veterans here in the state of Minnesota as we can. Some of the barriers that we see, and I'll be transparent, and that is, how do we verify these are veterans? You know, unfortunately, in the state of Minnesota and nationwide, we have a lot of people that need, it's not just veterans that need food, right? That's the partnership that we're looking at when we have this set up, either having a county veteran service officer there, somebody from the state, and or somebody that can verify this piece, showing their VA medical card, whatever it may be, having those things in place to ensure that we're helping the right veterans. And we're not putting barriers in front of them. Well, you were here last month, you can't get any this month. We need to give it somebody else. But at the same time, as our goal is to ensure that they're not relying on this for the rest of their life, that we're helping them get through this challenge in their life and getting the help that they need so they actually are stable and able to do this, you know, by themselves in the future. So this is a long program. As I said earlier, we're 100 years. Our programs, we don't start them just to stop them in a couple of years. We're looking at this as a need long-term for the future. And unfortunately, and, you know, I'm sad to say this, I feel food insecurity will be here for a long time, you know. I can go down a lot of different rabbit holes, why my reasoning's there, but I will just say that's our belief, the DAV, that the food insecurity will be a need for long-term to come, and the DAV wants to be able to provide that service. With this bill, it allows me to not invest money and resources into hiring more staff to build this and help me make sure I do it right, but to partner with people that already have team that already specialize in that, get the data, get the information from them. I roll out the program, keeping the costs down to the minimal amount, so the money that we do raise, I'm able to provide more food for these veterans.
Thank you. Discussions, Chair Bliss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the idea and concept of this bill. Anytime we can get government to be more efficient is a wonderful thing, and leave it up to the veterans to take the initiative, so I appreciate that. I do have a concern with the bill, however, as written. On the handout that you've given us, it says that it's non-monetary resources, but the bill just mentions agency resources. So I'd like to have our nonpartisan staff just address that through an amendment. We can lay it over, bring it back the next time. I think if we address that in an amendment, there'll be no problems over here. I really do appreciate the effort, though, and thank you and congratulations for coming up with this initiative.
Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Chair and members. I think, you know, if there needs to be comfort language added into the bill, we're happy to work with the legislature to make sure that it's crystal clear that we're not talking about moving dollars. That's not our intent.
Representative Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Kelly, during the conversation that we've just had here, it sounds as though we have members or people, employees at the department who have copious amounts of time that can be allocated towards this. Is that doesn't sound like that's the case, right? This is just to make things more efficient. We're not actually having people sit around looking for things to do, and now we're saying, hey, we don't know if we can help out this. We've got extra time on our hands. You don't have employees who have copious amounts of extra time on their hands, do you?
Mr. Kelly?
Chair, Vice Chair, no. So our intent in making this permissive is that, you know, if we're approached and there's an overlapping synergy or, you know, force multiplier through a public-private partnership to what we're actually currently doing, we want to try to do that. So the staff that have been working on this with the DAV are already working on food insecurity. They're already working on the core program and the stuff that the legislature's already added them to. This is just like an extra meeting here and there, trying to help coordinate. Our staff are not sitting around looking for stuff to do. They're plenty busy.
Representative Wilson.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that answer, Mr. Kelly. Now, we have a lot of trust in this department. We don't have a lot of trust in other departments in the state of Minnesota's government. So with that being said, how can we know for a fact, how can we trust this department when they say, you know, next year, we're not going to ask for more full-time employees on our budget because this has now become something that we're doing? You know, how do we ensure that this is always and forever, when we have extra time, when we see synergies, when we see ways that we can make this government work for the people, that happens? Because like I said, there is a lot of trust that we have in this department, and there is very little trust that we have in other departments in our state.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, so I think you're spot on in, if you look at the executive order that was signed by the governor on Veterans Day, and I was part of the many deliberations as you draft an executive order, Commissioner Lindsay made it very clear internally that we are not creating a new program here. And the goal here is to bridge past what we have now on food insecurity. So as members recall, we extended the life of several one-time grants for food insecurity for the folks that testified here at the top of the hearing. But that funding is set to expire. And our hope is that we can, and again, going back to what we talked about, in a time of a tight fiscal environment, we see the same forecast data and everything that you all do. We're looking at how can we feed veterans in a way that isn't a government program? How can we partner with Tom Lyons from Military Radio and the DAV and our staff to feed vets and not have a new program? So this is permissive. The executive order was drafted to be permissive. This is not trying to create a new program. This is actually trying to leverage public-private partnerships past when these dollars that were appropriated towards veterans' food insecurity would expire. So I hear you on that. I think, we're not trying to have mission creep here. We're trying to keep this to basically have our staff be the experts and help this in its incubator phase, for lack of better words. And then I think there's a scenario where this goes beyond even our staff helping out on it. I mean, right now, we're also grateful for the opportunity for an additional work therapy opportunity for our domiciliary residents to help fill the boxes. We have some available space at Hastings to take some point-in-time donations and build the boxes there. This is about leveraging our people, both in our residents in the work therapy program and our experts, but it is not about creating a new program at MDVA.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this gracious extra time. I love it. Theoretically, this sounds like a wonderful program, wonderful opportunity for us to really make things work. In the Army, we have this conversation of trust but verify. We have a lot of trust with you. If we can get some language, like Chair Bliss said, that can help us ensure that we have verified that this is not going to increase any costs. We're not using dollars that are allocated by the state, and we're not creating full-time employees to do something that they're not actually, like that wasn't the determination of this program to be. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further, Mr. Kelly?
Just to put a finer point on it, I want to note, we have built into this bill a reporting structure. So if we are using this authority, you're going to hear about it annually. And, so there's also built, it's not just you gave us this and we wander off and we do, stuff. Like we are going to come back and you're going to see a report on what we're doing under this authority, just to be as transparent as we can. So I just want to put that point on there as well. Thank you, committee.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any further discussion on the bill? See none, closing statements. Representative Raybauer.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much to committee members. I appreciate your questions. I think I'm good to say that for all of you, that we're happy to resolve the issues and concerns that you have and get the bill in good shape. I think ultimately, this is about saving money, being able to utilize expertise that's already there to get a program going that has the external dollars and support. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Representative Raybauer. We will lay over the bill and hopefully you can work with Chair Bliss to get language in there and bring the bill back.